Hello, my name is Charles Chappell. I'm Chief Scientific Officer at Safiter. I'm joined here by Richard Mayer, one of our resident tech experts, and also by Kostadinos Hadjikogolakis, our software engineering manager, and Alma Mudrov, who is our variant curation team lead and also variant annotation product owner. Today, we would like to talk a bit about VarSome Community. So, VarSome.com is our free variant search engine, which also acts as a community. We have thousands of users, all of whom, for obvious reasons, are experts in the field. This is not a tool that is of interest to the general public. So VarSome allows them to share information and share their knowledge in various ways, which I will ask Alma to explain for us, please.
Yeah, so VarSome users can contribute to the VarSome community in several different ways. So some of these ways are publication linking, declarations of interest, and also classifying variants independently, so variant flags. So I'm just going to explain each of these things. So publication linking means that if you are an author of a scientific paper, or you know about a publication that holds valuable information about a variant pathogenicity, you can choose to link this publication on the appropriate variant page. This can also affect our variant classification, the final verdict, or it can just provide some additional valuable evidence to the VarSome community. You can also choose to declare interest on different variants and different genes. Um, so if, for example, you have a patient with a specific phenotype, you can, and a certain variant, you can go to that variant page and declare interest by saying, I have a patient with this and this, and I would like to connect with other users who have also seen this variant and this phenotype in their patients, and then they might reach out to you through a contact form. So this is done anonymously, and every time that there's someone who's interested in connecting with the user, we ask for permission to share their email and contact information. Um, and then in the event that you know about a patient that has a specific genetic change and the phenotype, but this individual was not a part of any research paper, you can also leave this as a comment on the variant page and let other people in the community know about this. And again, if they have similar findings, they can choose to connect with you. If you want me to, I can do a little walkthrough how to make these contributions on a variant page.
Yes, yes, please. That would be great.
Okay, I will share my screen. So first, I'm going to show you how to link publications in VarSome. I need a PMID to do this, so I'm going to select a random one. So if you want to link a publication, you scroll down to this button here on the right that says a link publication. You click on it and you paste the PMID of your publication. I'm just going to make sure that there are no additional spaces. When you press find, you will see the title of that publication. You will see the name of the author and the year that it was published. If you are an author or a co-author of this publication, you can tick this box, and then we will ask you if you agree to be contacted by other VarSome users that might have a question about this paper. Let's say that in this paper you found a very well-designed functional study that talks about a variant that has an appropriate amount of positive and negative controls and has been well validated. You can choose to trigger functional study rules, PS3 and BS3. And in this case, To do this, you will check the box that the publication is confirmed by a functional study. Next, you can provide the classification of this variant. So the classification that you would assign based on the evidence that you have found in the publication, in combination with the automated evidence, of course. So let's say that I want to classify this as pathogenic. I can choose this from the dropdown. And if I want to provide any additional variant information, I can do this here on the right. And let's say I have a patient that has a de novo variant. I can click this to add the de novo tag. Also, inheritance dominant, and there are a lot of different options here. If there are other variants that are described in this publication, you can add them here, search them by the nomenclature, and click on Add Variants. Okay, I don't have any right now to add. And in the event that you have found some case reports in the paper, for example, individuals who have a specific phenotype and carry this variant, you can add them in step 3 that says phenotypes. For example, you have found an individual with Marfan syndrome, you can add the phenotype here, and you will also get the option to select all of the major and minor clinical signs if they are described in the paper. Of course, you can tick these boxes here.
I see.
The last step is comments. So this step is totally optional. You don't have to leave any comments when linking publications. But we really appreciate it when people do this, because this can provide additional context and give more information and insights to the people that will see your linked publication. So for example, you can write a little summary here about your findings. You can say something like, a well-designed functional study on HeLa cells has shown that this variant resulted in reduced protein expression, or it affects DNA binding or something like that. Or you can choose to add something more about the patient if there is a case report in this paper. And when you do this, you will click on finish. I'm not going to do this right now, but when you click on finish, our curation team will get notified and we will review this entry for you. Okay. And when it appears in the community contributions card, it will look something like this without the VarSome Curator tab, of course.
Okay. And
And
one thing I noticed
all
also that
right,
when you were looking at it, even in the, you can start from one variant here. I see you've looked it up in HG19, but the system automatically provides the lifted over variant to HG38, right? Because so, and then you can
yeah,
choose whether or not you want the particular classification to apply to both or not.
I don't think you can choose. I think it automatically links it in both.
Yeah, fair, true. I mean, if it's a genome after all, can't really not.
Yeah, so this is how you link publications. Another thing that you can do, as I already mentioned, is you can declare interest on a variant. And you do this by clicking the button that says connect with past and future viewers of this variant. So here you can leave your information, your name, your email, the name of your organization, but all of the declarations are anonymous. So we will not be showing this to other users visiting this variant page. And if you want, you can choose to declare interest on a specific variant or on all variants in this gene. And when you do this, you need to write a little message to describe what exactly you're interested in. So you can say something like, I found this variant in a homozygous patient with dysmorphic facial features, with short stature. I'm interested to connect with anybody who has seen this variant in a patient with a similar phenotype. And then you click on submit. So when you do this, your declaration will appear in VarSome looking something like this. And then everyone who opens this variant page can click on connect with this user. They will see this contact form, and then we will basically ask you if you consent that we share your information with this other individual so that you can collaborate or you can use each other's information. Um,
Just want
and
to
yeah,
highlight this because, sorry to interrupt, just
all
want
of
to sort of emphasize the anonymity of this. I know you said it, but I think it's very important that users are in complete control of what is and is not shared. They will only, their information will not, and we've had people who actually said, no, I don't care. I don't want to be involved, and we don't force them. Of course, we say, okay, fair enough. Sorry, this person is not interested. But we've also had quite a lot of cases of scientific collaborations that have begun through this. But I think it's just important to highlight that you are you, the user, is in control of your own data, and we will never share something like this without explicit consent.
Well, I think you've had some quite spectacular results through this, no?
There was a wonderful thing with the researcher in Iran and one in the US, and this was at a time of a particular, let's say, geopolitical conflict. And you had these two people from, let's say, opposite sides of this particular conflict, not conflict per se, but and it was just I loved seeing how the science and the medicine was transcending the borders, and these two clinicians were talking to each other as peers. They had a productive conversation. You know, I saw this in my patient. Okay, I saw it in something slightly different, and this all played out in the comment section of the variant. And it was just great to see. It was a hopeful thing to see, let's say. Sorry, Alma, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. But yeah, this is completely anonymous, and we always ask the user if we can share their contact information and connect them with this other person. And of course, they can refuse, they can accept, and then if we connect the users, they take it from there. And yeah, some collaboration might come out of that. And last but not least is you can choose to classify this variant. This is something that's called variant flags. So again, if you know about a patient, you have seen a patient with a phenotype and with this variant, you can choose to leave a comment about it. If this individual was not a part of any published study, you can still let the community know about it. And you can choose the pathogenicity that you think belongs to this variant. Again, you can add some more tags. Maybe this was compound heterozygous, recessive. And again, you can choose a phenotype here. Yeah, you get the same thing, basically, major and minor signs. And you can, again, leave a comment describing this patient and saying why you choose to flag this variant as you did. But these flags are not anonymous, so we will be sharing your full name and title when you do this.
And this is important, by the way, so let's explain that a little. So the reason we do that is because we don't want spam, basically. That's one main thing, that's a problem we're all familiar with. But it's we're talking about variants, we're talking about human genetic variants linked to disease, or in some cases at least linked to disease. So if you want to make such an assertion, you should be willing to put your name and your institute behind it. So we insist that our users, all of whom are professionals in the field, actually, if they want to do this, which is great, and we really, really appreciate it when they do, but they need to know that they cannot do this anonymously because other users will depend on it. So they need to know a little bit about who you are, just to see that you're not, some architect somewhere, but you're actually someone working in the field who might know what you're talking about. So this is why it's important. This is also part of the reason why we have a real name policy on VarSome, and we require our users to disclose their real name and place of work, so that we know, and so that everyone, so the community knows who they're
Might be
dealing with.
worthwhile mentioning, obviously, Alma's team review these classifications and so on, and we also have an automated process that runs in the background to check. And if things are completely at odds with the ACMG classification, for example, we will highlight those and flag them as needing urgent review.
Exactly. So so we have a classifier that does this automatically and applies ACMG criteria for variant pathogenicity. And if you try to submit something that is completely at odds to what the automated classifier says, that will flag it. And Alma, well, you'll create work for Alma. So don't do that. She has other things to deal with. But you also have a
I don't
team who
mind.
does this, right?
Okay.
So you have a group of people who spend their days classifying variants for us, right?
Yes, we do that, and we also monitor all of the community contributions coming in. So every time somebody makes a publication link, a declaration of interest, or a variant flag, we review every single entry. And we don't do this because there's a lack of trust. It's just that we are all people and mistakes happen, and we need to be very careful about all of the information that we share in VarSome, especially the one that directly affects the variant classification. So in the event that there is a mistake, maybe somebody linked a publication in the wrong variant page, we will reach out to this user and ask them for a little bit of clarification, maybe start a discussion if there's something that we disagree with. And if there was an honest mistake, we will remove the link. But normally, this happens very rarely. So we don't have a lot of work to do there. So a lot of our users are very knowledgeable in variant classification. So most of the time, we just leave it as it is.
Right. And you said that these feed into the classifier as well. I think, Richard, this is something that you've done quite a bit of work on.
Yes.
How do these feed into the automated variant pathogenicity classifier?
So these are used by the clinical evidence rules, and so the classifications and so on can be pulled in along with the publication references. And we've also put a lot of work into weighting how credible or how much weight should be given, so there's just supporting evidence or could it be strong evidence and so on. So that's all taken into account by the germline classifier in particular. And so, I think it's a very powerful tool for our users to know that not only do we have all the variants in ClinGen or in ClinVar and so on, but we also have variants from the community that people have seen in clinics and so on that might not have been submitted to other sources. I think Kostas will talk to us a little bit about that as well. But that we can actually take these into account and surface that evidence. So you can immediately find out that someone else has seen this variant or studied it. And
that
so
will
on.
improve the classification, of course.
That's right, yeah.
So Costa, you apparently you have something else to add here. Costa.
Yeah, so, Alma, it was great what you said. So I just wanted to add on that, in VarSome, with this tool, we are trying to bring together information that, it's fragmented in various places, okay? So we collect data from various sources and try to bring them to the user all together. And contributions is one of those examples, okay? So for example, ClinVar is also an archive of reports for human variations classified for disease and drug responses and with supporting evidence. So they basically do something kind of similar to what we do, okay? And they offer this through an API, which is not very easy to use, or alternatively by sending an XML report, okay? So since our aim is also to, what I said, to bring together information collected from various sources and bring them together and show them to the user. It was an idea a couple of years ago that, hey, maybe we should also work together with some of those sources and help users that use our platform to send data to other organizations and other sources as well. So one of those examples was ClinVar. So what we did was create a user interface, okay, that will allow users that are not very familiar with programming, so they don't know actually how to use an API, to actually submit data to ClinVar faster. So they navigate to VarSome, they see, they search for a variant, they have evidence for that variant, and they can submit, as Alma said, their input to our platform, and then they can also select from the variant page to submit to ClinVar. So when they do that in the platform, they get a pop-up message with all the information that basically are the information that ClinVar requires through their API, and they can fill in a form online with all the information about the assertion criteria, the clinical evidence, the classification that what was the outcome of their study, and send the submission to ClinVar. Of course, ClinVar, similar to our case, they require the submissions to be from an actual organization. So it is a prerequisite to provide to ClinVar this information and get an API key from their side. And then in our platform, we just ask the user the first time they want to make a submission, what is your API key? And once this is provided to us, it is stored securely in our platform, and it's not asked again from the user. So from that point on, they can use this key to submit classifications to ClinVar directly from our platform.
Yes. And one point I'd like to make here, because it might not be obvious to people who haven't used VarSome much, you can look up any variant in VarSome. There's no, we don't offer a specific list of known variants. You can look, you can look up arbitrary variants, things that don't exist. You can write your own indel, say that, inserts 100 random bases, and you can still look that up, which is why it's so useful to do things like this. And it's not like, VarSome doesn't have the variant, so I can't do it. No, VarSome has every possible variant. We just might not give you a lot of information about something that has never been seen.
Yes, it's not a database.
It's not a database.
It's not a database, but it
we
has.
can tell you what effect it would have.
And it can pull in information from the gene. It can use automated classifiers and so on to add to the novel variant that you're showing there. And then I think then the submission to ClinVar is a much more user friendly front end for people to then, if they found something of interest, they can easily submit that to ClinVar, and then ClinVar processes it. I think it takes 2 or 3 days, and then it'll show up in the platform as well.
And then feeds back to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Also.
And exactly on top of what ClinVar is doing, we also offer the users the feature to see their submissions. Okay, so when you submit when you send a submission directly to ClinVar, then in order to see the status, you need to be a programmer. Basically, you need to send a request every couple of days to see, okay, what happened with my request? Is it accepted? Is it not? Is it still processing? But if you go to our platform, you can go to the user profile, and then there is a dedicated section about ClinVar submissions, and you can see there a table with all your submissions, their IDs, their status, a link to go to ClinVar and see more details if it has been processed and published.
That's kind of cool. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's a nice feature.
It's a lot more complex as a feature than it might appear. And
I remember how much work
initially
it took.
Yeah.
To do this.
But the plus side is always this, right? That we have. I don't even want to put a number. Hundreds of thousands of millions of users around the world, and they're all brought together by this platform. And we're also playing fair and integrating with other platforms that also have a similar objective.
We like to give back, let's say, yes. But yeah, so this is Alma touched on this, and one of the things I've liked to see play out. Sometimes you see people who have conflicting ideas about whether or not a variant should be classified as X, Y, or Z, and very often they might both be right in different contexts. So, for example, someone might say, "Look, I found this variant in my patient who had this disease, so it's not relevant to that disease," and that's something you can put in a comment. Or someone else, it might be borderline, and one group in their own one lab with their own criteria might put it as, let's say, likely pathogenic. Someone else might push it to pathogenic. Someone else might even want something to be VUS, and then you can have these kinds of discussions, and it's those discussions that also help us as a scientific community to refine the criteria and this, oh, you know what, actually that group might have been right and we should do it like they do. That's a good idea and we can do it this way. So it's really great to see this sort of discussion play out, and you can see these small advancements in our understanding and in our communication, which is it's a nice thing to see. So, Alma, could you tell us a little bit more about how the curation team works and what you do here?
Yes, so our main objective is to resolve as many variants of uncertain significance as we can. And we do this by looking for various evidence in scientific literature. So if we find evidence for a variant being pathogenic or a variant being benign in scientific papers, we carefully evaluate this evidence, and then we assign the appropriate ACMG rules to it at the appropriate strength. We do this by the process of publication linking. We trigger different rules in this way. Another way that we work is if there's a user that has any questions about our variant classifications, if they're interested in why we classified something as we did, they can always reach out to us through our support team, and then we can have a discussion and give them some explanations on why we did what we did. And then another thing that we do is we collaborate with our developers on the germline classifier improvements. So the ACMG guidelines are continuously evolving and changing, and we need to stay up to date with these new recommendations. So every time that there is a new recommendation, we help shed some light to what the expected behavior of the germline classifier is. And when these changes are made, we are helping with validating the results. So these are some of our tasks. There are many more, but this is just in a nutshell.
Don't give us the full list.
But maybe what Alma's saying here is that her team, the curation team, are effectively a very important part of the quality assurance process for the automated classifiers. And they will review and tell us where the code is wrong or where we're doing something that looks incorrect or things like that. That's clearly very important.
That's true, because we try to automate things, but there's always going to be a place for the human expert to say, hang on, that's a good idea, but you should do it slightly differently. But also that your team of variant curators, Alma, that you basically every day you take a list of variants that the automated classifier considers VUS, or variants of uncertain significance. These are the variants where basically we're saying we don't know what's going on here. Maybe it's pathogenic, maybe it's not, or there's some evidence pulling in one direction, some evidence pulling in the other. So the final verdict is ambiguous. Well, not ambiguous, it's uncertain. And you try to push it out of that uncertainty into either one direction or the other.
And we're continuously scanning all the new publications that to see if there's variants being reported. So that's part of the service as well.
So the list will never
end.
And
we also have sort of a community-driven approach when we choose and prioritize the VUSs that we want to curate. So every time that there's a gene or a variant that generates a lot of discussion in the community, let's say there are a lot of comments, there are a lot of declarations of interest, linked publications to a certain variant, this is very likely to get flagged for review and deeper curation. So we focus on the areas that we can have the most impact in, and we're trying to provide answers to the users about the variants that they are most interested in, basically.
So what is the life cycle here? Say we have an example where our automated classifier, the German classifier, is getting it wrong. Okay, it's giving a specific verdict, and a user sees this. They're very familiar with this variant. Maybe they've published a paper on it, and they go and they classify it, and they say, no, this actually should be pathogenic for this and this. So what happens then?
We review their classification, and as I said, if we agree with them, we leave it there and we let it affect the final variant classification, the final verdict. For this to happen, this reflects in the germline classifier in 2 days. This is just to give us a little bit of time to do a proper review of this, right?
But after the review it, and assuming they are correct, which is in this case will be the case, then this also feeds back into the classifier, right? And it will automatically, perhaps one of those 2 rules, the clinical rules that we're not firing, now will fire because of this new piece of information.
That's right, and we can adjust the strength of the rule as well. So effectively, even if there was a lot of benign evidence, we'd be able to push it the other way if need be.
That's like it's sort of a semi-automated system where you have humans and machines working together in a sense. So I'd just like to highlight a couple of more things. So first of all, here you see the VarSome.com homepage. And Alma, could you tell us a little bit about what we see on the right there?
On the right, we can see the recent VarSome activity. So in this part, you can see all of the latest publications that have been linked by our users or by our VarSome curators. And you can also see the recent variant flags, the recent classifications.
And we also have a community page, right, where we can see all of this in a bit more detail.
Yeah, so if you click on the community, you can see basically everything that the community has been up to lately. So in user connections, you can see all of the variants that have declared interests on them. And here on the right are connection requests. And on the left, you can see the number of users that chose to reach out and connect. So yeah, you can see how many community contributions there are in general, and also the number of countries that the users are coming from. So in this page, you can see the summary of all of the community contributions. So here at the top, you can see user connections. Basically, this refers to the declarations of interest. So at the requests here, you can see the number of connection requests on each of these variant pages. And then in this part on the left, you can see all of the people that chose to connect with the other user. Below this, there is a list of recently linked publications. So you can see the latest links. All of these are by our curation team member here. He's been very active. And on the right, you can see variant flags, so recent classifications that I have mentioned earlier. And yeah, we show the full name of the user who has classified variants in this way without the scientific paper.
Excellent.
And at the bottom here, you can see random publications that you can choose to review and link, which would be very helpful because you would be providing some additional information to other users that they can use in their research or in variant classification.
That's the thing. When you do this, because of the way we share this information, you're not just helping. Yes, you are helping us. I mean, let's not. And we really appreciate it, but you're also helping the community at large. This is something that goes out to everyone, and it's one of the things we as a company feel very strongly about is we want to reduce the siloing that there is in the scientific community and try and get this information shared and have it in easily accessible locations instead of having to go to 12 different web pages to see 12 different sources. You can find it all here. And this is one of the reasons why VarSome is actually extensively cited. I think we have the VarSome citations page there. If you could show us, Alma, please.
Yeah, we do. So these are the many papers that have cited VarSome so far. You can see the latest ones here at the top.
So that's more than
And
5,000 citations of the VarSome paper.
yeah, that's true.
This is very much part of the community aspect of the platform, this kind of citation. I hope that showed you something about our VarSome community and the various ways we try to bring the community together. And if you have any more questions or would like more information, please send us an email at sales@varsome.com. Thank you.